got tools. Let's do it. Hello, everyone. Welcome. All right. Looks like we are live. Hey, hey, hey. Thank you so much for checking out the show. My name is Chris, and this is the Weekly Spinner Rack, a live show where I'm going to do some quick mini reviews of the comics that I've read this week. I'm going to then draw something while chatting with all of you and recapping the comic book related news of the week. Let's take a quick look and see who's already here in the chat, because it looks like we do have some folks here. There's my sister Jean. I see Mike, Xavier, Iron Shell, Steve, Senor Patata. That's a fun name. Brian Reagan. Awesome. We've got a bunch of folks here. Hello, Lord. That is a powerful name. We've got Ricky Prickles. Very nice. I like Ricky, your, what do you call that? Like your icon or whatever. Hello, Lawrence. Hello, Robert. Great. Looks like we've got a little bit of a crowd coming in. Yes, it's shooting up. Hello to some other folks that are jumping in right now. Wilo, TW Mangrove, Moritaka. Love it. Good mix of familiar faces and some new faces. I love it. And that's great. It's going to be a good show, folks. Oh, I was busy today getting ready for this and everything. I spent too long on my preliminary sketch, because I like to sketch something out and then lightbox it, and then I spend this time sort of inking it. That's just something I can do while sort of talking through the news of the week and answering your questions and stuff like that. What did you catch me doing this week? Just being busy, working. Hope everyone had a good Easter weekend if you celebrate that, or at least maybe got a day off or some time with family doing something like that. There was a new episode of my show, Comic Tropes, that went up today. It went up a day late. I had a really busy week, that's all. Just life, just busy at work, busy with Comic Tropes, busy with like home repairs, busy. Happens to all of us sometimes. So it came out this morning. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, I definitely recommend that. I discuss why I love the work of Frank Quitely. He's just an artist that I personally think is top tier. Incredible. So I'm really proud of that one. Hope you get a chance to check it out. Even if you disagree, hopefully, you can learn something about techniques along the way. So that was cool. And I'm seeing some positive comments in there, so I appreciate that, everybody. Well, feel like I'm talking a mile a minute, but why slow down? Let's talk about some of the comics that I read this week, and I'm curious, of course, what you all read. First one I'll go over here is issue 9 of Nocterra by writer Scott Snyder, artist Tony S. Daniel, Marcelo Maiolo. I'm terrible at names, folks. On inks. The premise of this book, if you aren't aware yet, this weird sci-fi thing happened. The sun does not shine anymore. The world is in darkness, and if any living thing is out in the darkness for too long, it turns into sort of a monstrous version of that, and there's no coming back from it. So our protagonists are all truckers that go around in these big up with a lot of weapons and a lot of light. And they've been forced in this latest issue to team up with, up until this point, a guy named Blacktop Bill, the bad guy. So that's kind of fun. Really like forcing the good guys and the bad guy to work together against an even bigger threat. So expanding the world, some good character growth for Piper. She's sort of our point of view character. You could argue that the protagonist is this lady named Val that has a little more experience, but Piper has always been our viewpoint character, a little younger. She just takes to this life pretty well, and it's fun. What more can I say? You're into that premise or you're not. It's kind of a breezy read. The artwork is pretty cool. I can't claim to be the biggest Tony Daniel fan in the world or anything, but I have nothing against it. I think it's clear enough. I think he does do monsters well, so that's well suited to his talents. are the characters unique or interesting? Yeah, and I've said this before in some other reviews, Caliban. I think that what I'd argue I like about this is there are real relationships that I believe in. A brother and a sister. Val and her brother M are very, very plausible. Piper, the new recruit, started the book with her grandfather. And Blacktop Bill had killed her, so she's not too happy to have to team up with him. But the relationships read very believably to me, very plausibly. People care about each other and take a chance. Like, story-wise, it's like you would not want to risk certain things, but you would probably for family or someone you really, really cared about. And so that sort of progresses the story forward in a great way. I did like this one set of panels here where we've got Piper talking to Blacktop Bill, and Daniel, like literally lined it up so that it's half and half. And that's an interesting dichotomy. They're very different people, but they are aligned in a purpose. So I actually thought that was a pretty clever compositional choice that up to this point I haven't necessarily seen Daniel really take those sort of chances, but I liked that one. I thought that was meaningful. It added something to the story. And then, beyond that, what can I say? These characters, I like them. And I'm a little late to discovering Scott Snyder. Obviously, he made a big name for himself with Batman quite a while ago, around the New 52 era. So I need to go back and read that, I think. I think that, that was obviously very popular. For whatever reason, the New 52 kind of burned me out right away, and I didn't really read it. But it sounds like I missed out on some good story arcs like Court of Owls. So I'm gonna have to go back and read that, because I do enjoy Nocterra quite a bit. I will say that more than I expected to. And you know what? I think sometimes it's just fun to see a creator-owned book where there's no holds barred. They can do what they want to do. So I do appreciate that about Nocterra. Meanwhile, we'll switch over to a company book, Venom. And I'm always, I have to admit at this point, right on the edge as to whether I want to keep reading this or not. I, in the past, have really liked, the story writers alternate between Ram V and Al Ewing. Loved Al Ewing on Immortal Hulk. I've talked about that before. I've made an episode about it on Comic Tropes. Loved Immortal Hulk. Really, really strong. Ram V wrote one of the books I considered one of the best of last year, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. So Venom is not in any way bad. It just doesn't engage me the way I hope it would, and I kind of stayed with it because I personally do like Bryan Hitch's artwork. Hold on, I got a super chat. I'm always going to pause to acknowledge that. Steve Sorensen, thank you, first of all. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And he asks, who is older, you or Gene? Any other siblings? I'm the older sibling. Gene is several years younger than me. We're the only brother-sister by blood, but each of our parents, our parents got remarried, so we each have, or we both have, is how I'm trying to say it, we both have a lot of step-siblings and stuff at this point. So, yeah, like an extended family. Nocterra would make for a great anime, says Lord Luke Lightbringer with a generous super chat. So thank you very much for that, Luke. I really appreciate it. Yeah, maybe it would. Maybe it would, because now that you say that, it does sort of remind me of stuff I was discovering then in the 90s with anime with, say, Ninja Scroll, something along those lines, maybe? I could see that. Wow, Steve, big family. Why am I not super into this? I guess it's because we're following Eddie Brock's son, and he was interesting as a supporting character in the last Venom run by Donny Cates. He was. As the protagonist, I don't care as much. I keep wanting to... Eddie Brock is sort of out there in space right now with these other people that throughout the years have been the King in Black, as in they rule all the symbiotes. And Bedlam is one of them too, although he's kind of dumber. And the other Kings in Blacks have been sort of manipulating both Eddie and Bedlam, and they've sent Bedlam after the Venom symbiote, which is now bonded with Dylan Brock. You'd think that, hey, a young kid that works really well with things like Invincible and Spider-Man and Superboy, all these Radiant Black. But since the beginning, Dylan has been sort of on the run, homeless, so there's nothing I can relate to that much there. I can relate to a character that has a job or has school, has family pressures. It's a lot harder to relate to an ongoing story of being sort of all alone and being on the run. So it's tough. It just needs a little something more to ground him in something relatable. If he was trying to save a family member, or if he was on the run because he was trying to find a friend that had gone as a runaway or something along those lines, I think that those would be sort of plausible reasons for him to sort of be on the run. But he's being hunted down because he has the Venom symbiote. That's a weird place to start. You have to sort of earn that. If the very first story that we got with Spider-Man back in the 60s was Spider-Man got his powers and then he immediately ran away from home, and he was on the run because people were chasing him, it's just not that relatable. Whereas it works for an adult character like the Hulk because that Bruce Banner was trying to get his life back. He was trying to find a cure. He was on the run, but he intended to, become a scientist again. He intended to find Betty Ross and, marry her. He had goals. He wasn't just on the run and being like, what should I do? I don't know what to do. Because this is a kid. An adult would know better. The art is good. I have no complaints about the Bryan Hitch art. There's some interesting sci-fi ideas as well. In fact, I'll probably still pick up issue 8 because they're showing a symbiote going up against Kang, because they've introduced this idea that when you become the King in Black, the controller of all the symbiotes, that your consciousness can move through time and space and reconstitute itself out of other symbiotes. Okay, well, then he should definitely go up in conflict against, the time-traveling villain. That could be cool. So I'll probably get the next issue, but I'll be honest, it's really just Bryan Hitch's art that has kept me on this, and I've always been it's a flip of a coin as to whether I get it or not. This is not in my pull list. I just sort of flip through it on the day that there's new comic book day and go, okay, fine, I'll try it. I can't give it a strong recommend. Yeah, I love Bryan Hitch artwork too, Gabriel. This is a very interesting book. An expensive one as well. Okay, so it is the 40th anniversary of G.I. Joe as a comic book. It came out in 1982. At least that's what it says. Did the comic start in 82? I wish Hooded Cobra Commander was here. Let's see. I'm just trying to think of something here right now. I think that I know that the toy line started in 82, and I think the comic started that same year. The comic definitely came out before there was a cartoon or anything like that. I'm a big fan of the G.I. Joe comic. I like Larry Hama's writing. I think he's done a lot to build characters. Now, it is not the 40th anniversary of the story that this is referencing. Issue 21, so basically not quite 2 years into G.I. Joe's run. Fascinating comic. And it's reprinted here halfway through. It was the so-called silent issue. There's such an interesting history here, folks. Larry was always a month or two ahead as the writer for G.I. Joe, as you should be. And the editor, Denny O'Neil, lost the pages that the artist had done for the original version of issue 21. He lost them. They were down to a couple weeks before it had to go to press. So Larry solved the problem himself. That's because Larry Hama had been an editor on books like, Conan and some other things, Crazy, which was Marvel's humor magazine. And Larry broke in as an artist, not a writer. He broke in working on books like Iron Fist. So Hama drew the entire issue himself. He knew he could bang out an issue within the 2 weeks because he didn't have to wait on a script. He could just come up with sort of a new one. And to save extra time, no dialogue. Instead, it focused on some ninjas that he had introduced, Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. Up until this point, Snake Eyes had just been not the most important character in G.I. Joe. He just hadn't. He'd been a commando. He'd been interesting because he doesn't talk. He seems like a badass. But we didn't know too much about him yet. And so, this issue has Scarlet, his fellow team member, kidnapped by Cobra Commander using Storm Shadow. And they get this whole issue of Snake Eyes going solo, sneaking into Cobra's base to rescue Scarlet while she simultaneously works to break out. It's a great issue. It's amazing. This was very unique. There may have been one or two comics that had never used dialogue or text before this. I think there probably were, but they certainly weren't high profile. This issue solved a problem. It got the issue out on time. Amazing. It made everybody love Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes, from this point on, he became one of, if not the main character out of, a cast of hundreds, literally. Literally, there were hundreds of toys. Storm Shadow got a lot more backstory. It established the romance between Snake Eyes and Scarlet, and it established ninja stuff, which became a real big hallmark of the G.I. Joe comics moving forward. You see in the last issue that both the good guy and the bad guy, previously we didn't know this, they have the same tattoo for some reason. That was a cool cliffhanger mystery. Why would the good guy and the bad guy have the same tattoo? And we know this kind of stuff now, but at the time this was all very new. Up until this point, most of the issues of G.I. Joe had been a little bit of recurring backstory, but the main issue had really been a one and done story. After this point, the mythology got a lot deeper. And it's a shame we don't get to see more of Mr. Hama's artwork. But, okay, so we've got a reprint, right? First of all, the colors are a little too garish. That's just modern printing. These colors were designed to be very bright because they were originally printed on newsprint. People need to think of how those will now come through way, way brighter on white, glossy, high stock paper. But they don't think about that a lot of the time. All you have to do is get a perfect scan these days. It was designed for newsprint. It looks good when these colors are a little more muted. My opinion. Too bad they didn't get that right. That is too bad. Here's what's cool about this issue. And it is expensive, by the way. $8. Don't know if it's quite worth that, but I'm a big G.I. Joe fan. Then, at the beginning, what they do is they've recreated this issue by a different artist for each page. That said, most of these guys are not really famous big names. Rob Liefeld is in there. He is a big name. I wouldn't say that his page is the best. I will say that Freddie Williams II does page 2. I think that that's one of the better pages. So, but does any of this improve on Larry's original version? Well, that's up to you to decide. That does make this comic pretty cool, that you can literally, this is something you can't do in other mediums as easily, but I could literally flip forward to see how it was originally done, and then I can flip back to compare it to how somebody reinterpreted that same story. So yeah, we've got the C-130 here, Snake Eyes jumps out and the camera follows him as he falls and the plane leaves behind. That's a really exciting shot. And this person has done the same things, but look at how they sort of keep changing the angle of the plane. That's not that's not as consistent. That's not good storytelling. I'm sorry. I don't know who I'm throwing under the bus here for the artist that did this page, but it is not as good as this. We've got the introductory panel of the plane, and that's fine. That's fine. But then, look, you can tell that like the camera is staying stationary, staying with Snake Eyes as he gets a little closer as the plane flies away. That's some great depth. That creates some really interesting depth. And Snake Eyes, he's centered here on this panel, is a little lower here. He's almost touching the bottom of the panel here. That's a great 3-panel storytelling sequence that we're looking at. But here, first of all, I can barely even see Snake Eyes. He's like way back in this hangar here. Super thin panel here where he's taking up like about as much space as the plane, which is now angled a different way than what it was doing before. And then yet another, like, okay, I'm closer on Snake Eyes here, but now the plane is going the other way. And he isn't like at the bottom of the panel, like with the plane at the top, like it's all taking up the same amount of space. This doesn't imply somebody falling or the plane flying away as well, in my opinion, as this. But that does make it a cool way to analyze, to get both together. Is it worth $8? Cool. That's depending on how much you like G.I. Joe, I would argue. They do have also like the new artists' layouts, which is interesting to compare it to. So I appreciate that. There is something you can learn from this. This is a book that you can literally learn storytelling from. So it's good in that regard. If you want the issue, I'd say it's worth getting the original issue, or literally last year, IDW reprinted that. It looked like this. They did a reprint of the original Silent issue, number 21. So why are they doing it now? Well, look, IDW is losing the G.I. Joe license at the end of this year. So they're saying, hey, it's the 40th anniversary. That's as good an excuse as any to reprint it again. Because it will sell. This is a new sketch, by the way, by Larry Hama. It's the same as like the original layout, but this is done today. And inked by Steve Lealoha, who has always made Larry's work look really, really nice. All I can say is you really could learn something from this for storytelling by doing the comparisons. But one thing that's not great, this reprint, right? Here's page 1. Page 1 should be here, just like this. See, this is where page 1 should be, on the right-hand side. So Larry would have pasted this originally for like this page, and then you flip it to get a reveal here, right? And then this page and this page you should see together. And then you flip it for this reveal. That's not good. They could have put like one more pinup in here. They could have put one more. This is like, there should have been a pinup here. That could have been the cover. And then Silent Interlude should start on this page so that it's laid out the way it was intended to be. Why would you swap that? And that might seem like a small thing, right? But think about it. Like the artist, absolutely, like with the time it takes to draw a page, they absolutely have considered, okay, when the person flips the page, that's going to be some sort of a reveal, and they'd be easily able to see what's on the next page. So, I wonder if Marvel will get the G.I. Joe license back. I sincerely don't think so, Black Phoenix. My guess is it's going to Skybound, Robert Kirkman's company. But we will see. We will see. That's just a guess. If you want to learn about comics and like compare and contrast, it's worth the $8. Otherwise, you're only going to get this if you're a huge G.I. Joe fan. I can't give this like a recommend to a casual reader, but I do get something out of it. I found this interesting. I mean, you just saw me go into almost a comic tropes type episode comparing storytelling techniques panel to panel. And I might make an episode about the Silent issue, guys, because I love it. It changed everything about G.I. Joe. Yep, I was just talking about that, Nala. Anyway, All right, next issue, Refrigerator Full of Heads. Final issue of this. Loved the original series Basket Full of Heads, but I also loved the writing of Joe Hill. And I forget who did the art there, but I also love the art. I can't claim to love this art or this writer as much. But what I do like is for the finale, they went super over the top. They've got like a living dead shark head attached to the front of a truck attacking a snake man. Cool. At least the carnage is over the top. That's the least I could hope for at this point. It's not as good as the first one, but I do strongly recommend Basket Full of Heads. That is some damn good horror. This is, a mediocre follow-up. Mediocre. I want to say I love the Frank Quitely episode. Thanks, Dan. That's really nice of you. Not too much more to review here before I can get started drawing and talking about the news of the week. I did pick up the latest issue of Superman, Son of Kal-El. That's number 10. This is by writer Tom Taylor and artist Cian Tormey. Two very talented people. Can't claim that this is my favorite work by them. Lately, I've discovered that I missed the bus on Nightwing by Tom Taylor. And Bruno Redondo. Ooh, that artist? That's something special, folks. I definitely plan on picking up Nightwing in trade paperback form now that I've seen what Bruno Redondo is capable of. That artist is blowing my mind. This art is not bad at all. But this is also like Venom, an issue that I'm like, I don't have on my pull list, but I see a new issue and I'm like, flip a coin. Do I want it? Do I not want it? And it's decent. In this issue, there is a cool element. Lex Luthor is trying to, be a jerk and say that this Superman is, which is, by the way, Superman and Lois Lane's son, and that's out in public, I guess. He's like, oh, this guy's dangerous, so you can't trust him. Lois Lane confronts him at a press conference, and she pulls out, sorry, that's a cool ad for Milestone. She pulls out, what's that? The golden lasso of truth, and she's like, tells Lex Luthor like, hey, I think that you're just making this up. How about you just hold on to this lasso and tell me the truth? And Lex Luthor's like, nope. He pieces out, and because he thinks it's Wonder Woman's lasso of truth, which compels you to always tell the truth. As we find out in a little bit, it isn't. Literally, Lois Lane just painted a regular rope golden, and that tricked Luthor, and it made him look bad. I did like that moment quite a bit. Other than that, this Superman has been getting into a relationship with a reporter named Jay Nakamura, and the issue ends with Batman telling him you cannot trust Jay Nakamura. Okay, that's a little bit of a hook. I'm curious where that goes, because they've been in a relationship and they seem Jay Nakamura seems like a good person, but Batman kind of knows all, right? A legion of bald dudes. Yeah, exactly. The two bad guys in this Superman book are both bald guys. All right, so here's definitely my... Is it my pick of the week? Hold on, there's two more books that I have to review this week, and I'm trying to decide if this is my pick of the week or if it's in the number 2 spot. Oh, this hurts to say, and what does ranking really mean? Because your opinions can change. I would put this as the number 2 book of the week, which is still pretty awesome. It's fantastic. Any other week, this would be the book of the week. It's the latest crime book by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, and the Reckless series, instead of releasing these as 5 or 6 issues, these guys are so successful that they can wait the 5 or 6 months, release it all at once as a trade paperback. It's a better value. It's cheaper, but it also gives you the whole complete story. I love that, and I love their work. I love crime books. I love the twists and fake outs and character work that Ed Brubaker does. I think that Sean Phillips is the perfect collaborator for him. Can draw all sorts of different types of people. Sexy women like femme fatales, shady businessmen. These all take place in L.A. or in the Southern California area. So we've got like, hippies and burnt out movie stars and stuff like that. This follows Ethan Reckless is usually the main character, and this is his sidekick, Anna Keller. She's just sort of more of like an administrative assistant, but she solves the mystery in this, or she gets drawn into a mystery, and it's a good one. It's a really cool one of like this B-movie actress who had a fan that left her a huge mansion that's allegedly haunted, and the woman's dog does go missing, so she's like, I'm worried that it's haunted. Will you check this out for me? And it gets weird and cool. Okay, 2 super chats. Lord Luke Lightbringer says, why haven't we gotten a great Superman game like the Batman series? Is it because he's too overpowered? No, you could always like make something like he has to keep Metropolis's health up or something like that. No, you could definitely make a great Superman game. You definitely could. I don't know why they haven't yet, but someday someone will get it. I wish that we had that, because he should have all of his powers, but like, you should have like almost an open playground, like in a GTA type game. But if you do too much damage, like the police turn on you or something like that, and you have to like keep your respect meter up, or you have to keep the health of the city up, but you should be able to do anything you want. And Andrew Jefferson, also with a really generous super chat. That means a lot to me, just so you know. Says, final issue of Kaiju Max is out Wednesday. I'm going to be sad to see it go, but creator says it's time to end it. Any books you feel overstayed, they're welcome. Yeah, Xander Cannon's Kaiju Max. I've only flipped through it, but it does look very cool. A book that overstayed its welcome is a fascinating question. Like, started off good, but went too long. Mostly I would just say certain runs of superheroes, like, where the creative team at the beginning was definitely great, but maybe sort of ran out of steam a little and could have secured their legacy if they punched out a little earlier. Trying to like think of a specific example though, and it's a really tough one to answer. Oh yeah, Rick Ray says there's a character in this, Evelina, that's an homage to Elvira, and not just Elvira, because like there were like about 3 of those sort of like vampire beauties, right? There was Vampirella. No, that's a comic. Excuse me. There was Elvira. Who else was there? Who's that chick that was in all the Ed Wood movies, like Plan 9 from Outer Space? Because she was sort of like that too. I can't remember. Superman Arcade was not bad. Yeah, that's true. That was kind of fun. For its time. For its time, that was a decent game. Tom King Batman run. There's going to be a difference of opinions there. I know a lot of people would agree with you, Black Phoenix. I'm not saying that every issue he did was a hit, but I did like it up to the end, personally. I did like that run, personally. Vampira, yeah. Yep, thank you, folks. I can always count on you guys to help me out when I can't quite get that, like, thought, as long as I can start us down the path. Yeah, Vampira. And there's another one that I'm not thinking of. There's Elvira, there's Vampira, and I swear there's a third one that I'm just not thinking of. Although you could also argue that the characters from like Addams Family, Morticia, or what was that other one, The Munsters, kind of similar. So yeah, getting a Volume 3 Deluxe of Kaiju Max? Yeah, probably. Whoa, Dan says he's got a Vampira tattoo on his right shoulder. That's a fan. Hello, David. So I love this. This gets my highest recommendation I could give. It definitely does. But for my pick of the week overall, I will say that Asadora Volume 5 slightly edges it out. And why? I would just say that it probably comes down to personal preference. I generally like crime stories a little more. Asadora is more of like a drama with a little bit of a sci-fi kaiju type story going on. And this finally has Asadora, who's like this young girl whose family was like mostly wiped out in a massive flood. she's become a pilot, and the government has sent her on a mission, and we finally see just flat out like what wiped out her town in that typhoon. It was not a natural weather thing. It is literally a monstrous kaiju. So we've got her in this tiny little prop plane trying to get info. And there's also like a lot of supporting cast in this that you grow to love and care about. So her friends, one of them is auditioning to be a singer. And then her other friend wanted to be a singer, but like wasn't quite good enough. And so she goes sort of crying to her mom. And her mom is a pro wrestler. So that's kind of cool to see Naoki Urasawa do women's wrestling. So what do we get in this? We get kaiju action, we get female pro wrestling, and we get somebody auditioning to be a singer. And those are all things that Naoki Urasawa is a huge fan of. And I'll just say, like, you know, you look at this and you go, okay, well, that's a sort of a traditional manga style, right? All I can say is, if that's your response, look deeper. Naoki Urasawa is my personal favorite sequential storytelling artist. My favorite illustrator. Just love his work. Adore it. Backgrounds, incredibly detailed. And I know he's got, like, assistants, but not every comic that or manga that has assistants looks like that. The expressions are a little exaggerated, but I can always tell what the characters feel and tell them apart from one another. And the angles are just so good, you know? He knows when to pull in close for, like, an important emotion, or when to, like, go wide for, like, an action beat. And there's just always a sense of motion and energy. Oh, I love his work. I love it. Wow, a super chat. Glad you survived that gum last week. Oh my God, that gum was so disgusting. That was so bad. You have no idea. Yeah, don't eat 30-year-old gum is my advice. So I don't want to like spoil quite everything that's going on in this. All I can say is it's intense. It finally gives us like the full reveal of like what this monster is, although it's still out there by the end of this volume. And we've got the 60s Olympics coming to take place. This takes place in the past. The 60s Olympics in Tokyo are still coming up. And so like they need to figure out like what to do about this monster before they have the rest of the world come visit. Pluto was amazing. Absolutely. The funny thing about the name Asadora is that I think it means morning drama and usually refers to short 10 to 15 minute dramas on Japan's public broadcasting, NHK. I didn't know that. That's interesting, Meow Neon. I know that she doesn't like her name because she considers it a very boring, mundane name. 20th Century Boys is a gem, says Shan. Totally agree. The gum gave me superpowers. I really hope Asadora, Master Keaton, and his other short stories get published here one day. Master Keaton has. Oh, maybe you don't mean here, the USA, Gabriel. I'm being too Americocentric or whatever the word might be. Yeah, I am looking forward to finishing Asadora, and I hope Billy Bat comes here soon. I don't know if that's good or not, but that's one I haven't read. That gets my pick of the week. It's only volume 5. Very easy to catch up if you haven't read it yet. If you've never tried manga, this will make you care about the characters. It really will. And it's fun to look at. I know that manga is a hurdle that a lot of comic book readers here have trouble like jumping into. And that can be intimidating because there's a lot out there. And how do you know what's good from what's bad? All I can say is I've never been disappointed by anything Naoki Urasawa does. Really, really good. Just perfect, really. Just perfect. So, one of my favorite creators. That gets my pick of the week, but I also give the highest recommendation I can to Reckless. Again, these aren't superhero books, so maybe that's just not your cup of tea, but if you're willing to try something, both of these, I promise, like if you read them, you'll get into it and you'll read through them really, really fast. Careful showing manga, they are quick to claim copyright. They can be, Marcelo, but I think that that's also exaggerated how much they will do that, because just for the record, I did an episode reviewing Akira, which is a pretty famous manga, and I did that in the YouTube studios in Tokyo. So they knew exactly what I was doing. You had to like review it with them beforehand, and you had to submit it to them for approval. And I've never had any issues with that. So I think that it depends on how much you use and how you use it. Yes, they have different copyright rules, and they can be much more strict than a lot of American stuff. But I don't think that they'll by default necessarily go after you for no reason. Like I said, I knock on wood. Maybe someday that'll change, but that's been up for a few years. So I wanted to draw Doctor Strange since that movie's coming out soon. So we'll see how I do. 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to see if I drew the right number of fingers. Oh yeah, okay. And we'll just see how this all goes. But I've also got some news of the week to still talk about. Trust me, there's some juicy stuff. Hope everybody out there is doing well. You heard what I recommend this week. Does anybody else have a comic they read that came out this week that they think I'm missing out on? Let's see. Lord Luke Lightbringer with another super chat. Do you think Darkseid is a bigger threat to the DCU, or do you think that Thanos is a bigger threat to the MCU? Who do you think would win in a fight? You probably have to give it to Darkseid since he's the original. Thanos is the copy. Comic book wise. Thanos has been used more lately, and so like he's better known, and he has come close to some really big wins, but you use a villain more and he ends up losing more. So sometimes I think that DC has done a pretty smart job with how they use in the comics Darkseid. He's not showing up getting pummeled by Superman every week. Yeah, I guess I'll give it to Darkseid, although I do like Thanos quite a bit, actually, as a villain. The pencil sketch looks badass. Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you. Yeah, obviously I'm taking a page from, the movies. I'm drawing him in, I used my Hot Toys Doctor Strange for reference, just to be clear, for this specific thing. I don't know how well that's going to show up on camera, but it's a super detailed action figure, and that helped. And then I'm just trying to do the pose more from the films. But yeah, I love the Hot Toys figures. I don't know how well that showed up. It might have been too close to the camera. Starlin claims Thanos was originally closer to Metron, and his editor wanted him to copy Darkseid. Mostly true, Andrew. He was trying to copy Metron, and then the editor said, well, if you're going to copy one of the new gods, why don't you copy the coolest one? But that is why Thanos had that sort of a big chair and all, he does in the... just like Darkseid's throne and everything, or Metron's throne, I meant. Hey, Joe. Nice drawing. I just tuned in. My phone didn't alert me. Oh, I'm sorry. Thanos has the Thanos copter. Only in... I was going to say, not in continuity, but then again, it did show up on that Loki show, didn't it? Not in movie continuity and everything, but I don't know. So there's a lot to ink on this. I doubt I'll finish this tonight, but I'll try to just sort of get at least some of the upper body and some of the arms going so that you could see where I'd be going with this. I'll do as much as I can, and maybe we'll learn a thing or two by mistake, right? It's always possible. Have you started buying action figures, or was that Doctor Strange a gift? I collect the Hot Toys figures based on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but not all of them. There's too many and they're so expensive. but I get like basically one of each of the main characters. That I get like, so I've got like a Captain America from the first movie, and I can see Gamora, the original Falcon, Black Panther, Thanos, you know, like, so I've got all that. Squirrel Girl defeated Thanos. Yep. What Hot Toy figures do you have? I mean, at this point, I've probably got like 40 or something, so I really wouldn't know. The only one I can't seem to find, if like after I moved, I had I had Quicksilver, and I can't find it. So that's driving me nuts. How long did the pencil sketch take to get right? Maybe 2 hours. And that's with reference. But I just wanted to draw that specific version, so, you know, I had the ability to pull something out to hopefully make it look a little more accurate than some. And it isn't a one-to-one, but it's obviously like, you know, the fundamental character is based on the toy. Ooh, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. The stories where Darkseid gets nerfed tend to not weigh heavily in canon superpowers, in my opinion, in somewhat juxtaposition to Thanos. Man, maybe. Most artists hate drawing hands. It can be a real headache. I'm not sure how good these will all look, but yeah, I am gonna do my best. Although I'm also gonna do something that like is gonna make my life a little easier. I'm gonna add sort of motion blur to the edges. So that might make it a little easier because I don't have to necessarily get every part of it quite right. We'll see. Let me pull up some of the news of the week. Y'all like news, right? My art school made us keep a sketchbook of just hands. That's cool. That's really cool. All right, so news of the week. Oh, something happened today. Probably a bunch of you have already seen it, but the Thor trailer came out, and it was actually my sister Jean in the chat that like alerted me to it. I didn't realize that was finally coming out today or anything like that, but she's like, what do you think of the Thor trailer? I was like, what? It's interesting. I don't want to like spoil anything, but I will say that there are a couple shots in there that look like they're straight from the Jason Aaron run of Thor. So I bet Thor Love and Thunder is going to take a bunch of inspiration from the Jason Aaron comics, which are pretty recent. Look at Gene celebrating. I thought it looked cool. I thought it looked like fun. And hey, pretty much everybody liked Taika Waititi's Thor Ragnarok, so hopefully the next one is good too. I think an Etrigan horror-based video game would be a great idea, or an R-rated horror film. Etrigan could work in a very serious setting, sure. I like that idea, Lord Luke Lightbringer. I like that idea a lot. We should be so lucky, right? Hey, anything Jack Kirby wants like adapted has potential. It all has potential. Yeah, like that. Are you familiar with Batman Scottish Connection by Alan Grant and Frank Quitely? I'm aware of it, but that's actually one I haven't read, and so like that's why one of the reasons why that did not get addressed in my latest episode about Frank Quitely. I have not read it. Would like to, and I'm sure I will at some point, but so far, no, have not read that. Liefeld had Cap force Falcon to drink green glowing blood to cure bullet wounds. Huh. I don't know Kirby's Odd Man, actually. Yes, Etrigan the Demon was the guy who always spoke in rhyme. Was Etrigan the Demon who spoke in verse? If not, upon my head a curse. Well done, Joe Dent. Well done. Well done. So anyway, yeah, that came out. It didn't show any hint of the villain, but if we know that they're adapting the a bunch of stuff from the Jason Aaron run, and we do, and if you've read that, then you know who the villain is. It's somebody that was new, that was created for that run. So could be cool. Could be very cool. Definitely a powerful villain that would justify being in a movie. And something that we haven't seen tons of because it's a newer character. So that's nice too. Sorry, this is... I'm realizing that if I want to do this justice, I'm going to have to sort of concentrate, and I don't want to ignore you guys or become a bad host. It's not interesting to just watch somebody be quiet. It's more important that I engage you with, the interesting news and commentary than getting a drawing well done, because this isn't intended for anything, but... Hopefully I'm using a technique that's going to imply some motion and blurriness, but also make it look... Yeah, I kind of like how that looks. I think Ditko had an obscure character called Odd Man. Does he? I believe you, I just don't know. All right, what else did we have for news? We had... Oh, this is something I started to talk about in the news last week, and sure enough, I predicted some of it right. So last week, Discovery bought Warner Brothers, studio, etc. And Warner Brothers, just in case you didn't know, you probably do, Warner Brothers owns DC Comics. That's why anytime there's any sort of a DC Comics movie adaptation, it's always coming out through Warner Brothers, not Fox or Paramount or somebody like that. There's no question about who owns those rights. And I predicted last week, I was like, hey, let's not be surprised if there's any sort of news about shakeups or changing things around with DC Comics. Well, turns out, yeah, I was pretty much right. Not that anything has been fully decided yet. It's too new for that. But I think it was an article in Deadline, which is one of the industry trade publications, says that Discovery wants to create potentially an entire DC Comics vertical. By that, it would sort of be like how Marvel treats their movies as their own thing. Marvel Studios runs that. So they would have, one central area that's running all the DC Comics projects as compared to, sort of sharing it across different production areas. So yeah, we'll see. That could be a good idea, but again, it ultimately all depends on who they get to run it. I think you got to get somebody kind of young that like almost, hasn't like, made any big mistakes, and also doesn't necessarily know how troublesome it will be to do these things. Somebody who has like no fear, and somebody that's like, a little more connected to the comics. That's what seems to have worked for Marvel, is like, when you really look at it, the shared universe is nice, but it's the fact that like Kevin Feige by and large has oversight onto everything, so he can put together that connective tissue. Put Jim Lee in charge? I don't know, maybe. He doesn't really have any film experience, though, and I think that would be an important thing for, like, at least the movie side of things. You need to get some, what would they call it? They'd call it synergy. You need to get some synergy between the departments, but we'll see if that happens or not. They also said some things in a press release that made it seem like they're not quite plugged into like everything yet. Like they might be commenting a little too soon, the Discovery people, because they said something like, we want to use Superman, who's been languishing, but also some of DC's more obscure, not obscure, they use something like second tier characters like Joker, and it's like, well, yeah, no shit, you want to do something with Superman, and of course, like, anybody would be a fool not to be using him right now. I mean, it's Superman. But I love that they thought like that, like Joker is like considered like second tier. It's like, not if you read the comics. Like, Joker's been a humongous character for DC for a long time now. It's, oh yeah, what a swing for the fences they did when they put out a Joker movie by Todd Phillips. Like, who would have thought to have done something so revolutionary? Well, it's Joker. Like, yeah, the only surprise is that it took this long to get done. Joker's been the star of comics. Like, he was like the first villain that DC gave a comic to, back when that really wasn't done. What else? I don't know. I just like got a kick out of that statement. Like, we'll also use obscure characters like Joker. Sounds like you guys have some new, fresh ideas. Are they aware there was a Joker movie? That's what they're talking about. They were like, hey, that was a really good idea. Like, wow, we're going to do some more cutting edge stuff like that. Bring Ed Brubaker on board. He has TV and movie experience. He does have some. Hey, if he was game for it, I'm sure he'd do a lot of good. I don't think that's the kind of person that like they're gonna hand over something that's worth like billions. Like that is a humongous decision for a company to hand over the responsibility to anyone. You have to really earn that, and not with just good writing. Like, you have to, there's a lot of factors that would go into, like, a company deciding that somebody had the goods to do something like that. Damon Lindelof, Berlanti, some interesting ideas. You choose Jeff Johns. See, and I gotta admit, I'm just not a humongous fan of Jeff Johns' writing. So, and plus, he got himself into some pretty hot water for apparently, like, insulting some of the actors on Justice League. Like, he did not earn himself any favors on that one. So I'm not sure that Jeff Johns is the right choice. I don't know who is, just for the record. I'm not saying, like, it should be this person. I'm not going to come in here and be like, Kevin Smith or nobody. Because I'm not suggesting that one either. It's who knows? It's got to be somebody that's, like, with a proven track record, but that also, like, knows and really respects those comics. And that's going to be a hard person to find. But they're out there. There's people that have grown up with these DC comics. They're out there. You just got to find them. let's see. Motion blur turning out well. Reminds me of One Punch Man. Thank you. Well, just like One Punch Man, every day I do 100 push-ups. Every day I do 100 sit-ups. And every day I jog for 100 miles. No matter how hot it gets in the summer, I never turn on the air conditioning. And no matter how cold it got this past winter, I didn't turn on the heat. It's what it takes to be a hero. It's what it takes. And if you have never watched One Punch Man, don't know what I'm talking about, just look up on YouTube, like, One Punch Man training regimen. It's pretty damn funny. I think. But what do I know, right? What kind of music have y'all been listening to lately? Anything new that, like, I should know about? I'm so not plugged into, like, modern music. Maybe the tiniest bit I am, because I work with some younger coworkers. So, like, I'll at least hear names like Doja Cat that I would otherwise never come across. But yeah, I am just so not plugged into modern music, and I wish I was. That's just a regular workout. It's not even a hard one. Well, that's what it takes. It worked for me. Let's stick to the DC movie news, because I have another piece I'd like to talk about here. And that is, there was going to be a Flash prequel comic. A comic book that sets up the upcoming Flash movie starring Ezra Miller. And that got pulled. Like, that was going to come out, like, real soon, like next week or the week after, and it got pulled. And people were like, oh, is it because of all the trouble Ezra Miller got into? Apparently not. If you don't know, like, the Flash star Ezra Miller, like, attacked someone for, like, seemingly no reason. I mean, it's alleged, but doesn't seem good. And but no, DC said that they're really just delaying it so that it comes out, way closer to the movie, because the movie isn't coming out till something like November, so it was just too early. You listen to Spotify, VGM and New Wave, Soul Glow, John Batiste. I don't really listen to modern stuff. I'm super behind on it. Well, that's me too, Black Phoenix. That's me too. That's why I ask. Turnstile, okay. I'll try to remember some of these so that I can, like, hopefully look it up later and maybe learn a little something. Not be this ignoramus that you see before you. Wow, a super chat for no reason. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin Connor with a super chat. Trust me, that makes my day. I have lots of bills to pay. I waited till the last minute to do my taxes because I knew I would owe. And yeah, I owe several thousand, more than several, but yeah. But I knew that was coming. It's just still like a total bummer to get hit with a bill like that. So when you can get a super chat or something, just really kind of makes your day, like helps offset some of that pain. Nobody likes to get hit with big bills, even when you're expecting them. Thank you. Very kind of you. Very, very kind. Oh yeah, I've listened to the Pillows before, Meow Nian. Yeah. Whoever they do pick, they'll probably cause controversy. Well, that might be true. Denzel Curry is great if you like hip-hop. Okay, I'll try to remember that. Thanks. Appreciate that. Anyway, so yeah, they delayed this prequel comic for The Flash, and I wonder a little bit if Ezra Miller's strange behavior has in any way impacted this Fantastic Beasts movie, because the latest I saw was that, like, that's a Harry Potter movie with Dumbledore in the title, and it looks like it opened to about the same numbers as Morbius, but of course it costs about 3 times as much to make. So weird, right? Like, if those numbers that I saw are correct, that's not good. But who knows? If you don't mind me mentioning a YouTube music channel, I've been listening to 80s Forever, which has obscure new wave music. I do like new wave quite a bit, Victor, so I'll keep that in mind. Thanks. That's really nice of you. Streets of Rage, the Sega game, is getting made into a movie from the John Wick people. Well, Sega seems to have figured out how to do a video game movie with the Sonic franchise, right? Like, forever it seemed like nobody could do a halfway decent video game movie. I sort of liked the Resident Evil movies for what they were, although they weren't very loyal adaptations or even what you would consider good, but they were kind of like entertaining for what they were. So yeah, Streets of Rage. If I guess Sega could be on a roll. So like about just over a week ago now, I was just sort of browsing through one of the streaming services I have, which is Paramount Plus. And I was like, oh, the Sonic movie. Well, why not? You know, it's free on streaming, so I'll give it a shot. It's not bad. I can't say it's like, you know, anything super clever or great, but I thought it was pretty good. And I have something called AMC Stubs, which lets me see up to 3 movies a week without, like, you know, paying anything, really. I just pay for the service. And so I saw Sonic 2. I like the Midnight, Paul. Thank you for the recommendation. I like them. Good recommendation, because I do like them. It's not bad. Like I said, it's nothing amazing. Like, don't get your hopes up too much, but it's not too bad. So maybe Sega kind of knows what they're doing with movies. I don't know. Do you like Huey Lewis in the News? Some of it. Yeah, absolutely I do. I hope the movie cash can allow Sega to buy back their arcades. You know, it's sad. They're, without the tourism dollars, like a bunch of arcades in Japan are closing. And that really bums me out. I used to love going to this one part of Tokyo called Akihabara. Tons of video game parlors and stores that are cool and stuff, and a bunch of them going out of business now because there's just not enough people to support it. I really wish Japan would open back up, but I can respect that they're trying to be careful. I can absolutely respect that, but I do miss visiting quite a bit. It's one of my favorite places to visit, and now it's been almost 2 years since I've been there. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But it was sad to see, like, some places, like, very recognizable, like Sega's and stuff, close there. We shall see how much longer it is. I've been listening to a lot of prog rock albums, like Yes and the Alan Parsons Project. I will call it the Alan Parsons Project. There is no high bar for video game movies. And Marvin Nation says Sonic is the highest bar for that, I think. Probably. In terms of both success and, you know, audience reception of it, probably that original, like, first Sonic movie from a couple years ago is probably currently the high bar for a video game movie. I can't think of something else that, like, did good box office and the people loved it, you know, like, it's bigger budget than the Resident Evil movies. I thought Jim Carrey was pretty funny in it. It's 90s-esque Jim Carrey, which is, pretty funny Jim Carrey. But it's probably also not for everybody, and I get that. I'm definitely not trying to make it out to be like high cinema or like, must see, but it wasn't bad for what it is. The first Mortal Kombat was decent. I agree, for its time. I don't know that it's held up as well, but I did like the first Mortal Kombat movie. It was okay. As far as like, a video game movie that like got well accepted, what do we have? We have the first Mortal Kombat movie, certainly not the second or the TV show or anything like that. We've got arguably the Resident Evil movies. I mean, they have made 7 of them. And we've got the 2 Sonic movies. Mario, that didn't work. They made some about like Silent Hill. Those really didn't take off too well. What other video games have been adapted into a movie? Dead or Alive? I'd guess a bunch technically by Uwe Boll, but like, those are all terrible. Like Postal or House of the Dead. Those are like god-awful. God-awful. Oh, Detective Pikachu. You're right. That, like, I saw that one on an airplane. No, Tron wouldn't count because the movie came first. They didn't make it based off of the game. The game sort of came out because they were making the movie. Yeah, good call on Detective Pikachu. That one did do all right. I didn't love it. I don't know why. I just was a little bored by it. It wasn't... Oh, Tomb Raider. I forgot about the Tomb Raiders. I'm thinking of like sort of big budget live action movies. I know there've been a few like sort of animated like either TV shows or movies like that are animated, but like for big budget like to-dos, it's hard to think of like hard to think of any that like really have wowed me for a video game. Mario was acceptable. These days I think people kind of like it for what it is, but at the time it was not well received. I was there. I remember. It was not well received. And it's not very accurate to the games. It really isn't. You can always... I think that people these days are very open to adaptations making some changes, but they want the spirit of it there. They want something like the heart of it to be accurate. And yeah, not sure that too many video game movies have done that. But if they can do it for comics, they probably can do it for video games. I mean, if you adapted something like The Last of Us, that's a rock solid story at its core. If you don't cut out too much, that should be good. Yeah, Doom. Let's see. One person said Doom was terrible, followed in the same breath by somebody saying Doom was almost good. Yes. Rampage. Rampage only did well because it had The Rock in it, and that's... If it had anybody else in it, that would not have done well. My opinion. I saw it too, because I love like big monster type things, so I went ahead and saw that with a buddy, and we were like, it was what it was. It was what it was. That's not much of a ringing endorsement, is it? The Last of Us is getting an HBO series by the Chernobyl writer and the creator of the games. Oh, is it? I didn't know that. Folks, I love those games. I love them. Yeah, that would... I like hearing that. That seems like a good team to try to pull it off. We'll see. We'll see. I wonder if a live-action Professor Layton would work. Sure, why not? I think there's a market for a Red Dead Redemption movie. Okay. Chrissy comes up with the winner. Pong, the movie. There's probably been talk of it at some point, Chrissy, because they made a Battleship the movie. If they can make a Battleship the movie, they could probably have at least pitched Pong the movie. Pong the movie. Sorry, I'm just really thinking about that one. That's pretty good. They had to drag me from the Rampage video game kicking and screaming when I was a kid. Oh, okay. Pedro Pascal is playing Joel? He's a good actor. Okay. All right. I'm guessing Elliot Page will not be involved. Right. Yeah. I think it's been too long. At one point, like, the main character in The Last of Us definitely seems to be visually based off of then Ellen Page, now Elliot Page. I don't think the character I don't think it would work now. I don't know how they even sort of got away with that, like, because it really, really looked like Ellen Page. Like you were playing a video game going like, oh no, I better keep Ellen Page safe. Isn't Pong the movie just Balls of Fury? Oh. There was a trilogy of Tetris movies in the works? Not a great idea. I don't know. I say that, but you know what? Every once in a while, an adaptation surprises you, so who knows? I guess somebody could have had some sort of an idea for it. I can't imagine what could have worked, but maybe. When are we getting Connect 4 the movie? Did you use any shots of MCU Strange for reference or just the action figure? Just the action figure. It reminds me of a shot from Infinity War and from the Multiverse of Madness trailer. Well, that's definitely what inspired the idea. Definitely, yeah. That's why I used the action figure, because it was based off of the MCU look. Cool question. I hate getting quiet. Sorry. Let's see what other news I had. Oh, Nicolas Cage is a humongous comic book fan. Probably a lot of you know that. His real name is Nicholas Coppola, but he gave himself the screen name of Nicolas Cage because he likes Luke Cage. And he named his son Kal-El, Superman. So yeah, he's a big comic book fan, and he used to have a massive comic book collection. I don't know how many of you remember this, but that was stolen back in the year 2000. He had a really big collection of important key issues. Now, a bunch of that was recovered in 2011, but not all of it. And he's currently got a movie out. It's called, or coming out, what's it called? The Unbearable Weight of Being, or something close to that. Anyway, there's a Nick Cage movie coming out, so he's on the press circuit, and he's reiterated that he would love to get back his comics. He's like, someone out there, has to know where they are and what happened and stuff. He's like, I just letting you know, I would still love them back. He goes, at this point, I'd probably just sell it and donate that to charity. There's a lot of charities that could benefit from that, and I'm willing to do that, but I would like them back. In those books, he had a copy of Detective Comics 27, the very first appearance of Batman. One of the ones that he got recovered was a copy of Action Comics #1, the first appearance of Superman, and he did sell that for $2.1 million. Riv Wilson says, just sneaking in while at work. Love the piece you're doing. Thanks, Riv. Thanks for sneaking in while at work. Let's see. What time is it over in Australia right now, folks? Let's figure this out. Let's see what time Riv is sneaking in here. I'm going to look at my world clock here. And we'll add somewhere in Australia. If I'm looking at this right, it's 11:22 a.m. there, if I'm looking at it right. The Unbearable Lightness of Being is a novel. No, that's not the movie that I'm thinking of. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Thank you. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Looks funny. A-Man says, I'm late. I just finished filing my taxes. Yeah, today's the day, right? Good for you. Yeah, I did it last minute too because I knew I'd owe. And I did. And I'm just, why give it to them early, I'll collect the interest up until the last minute. But congrats on finishing your taxes. It's got to feel good to just get it done, right? So anyway, yeah, maybe somebody out there knows what happened to Nick Cage's comics. Maybe he'll get them back someday. You hate to see, he's a Hollywood celebrity. I don't wish for anybody, no matter who they are, to wish to lose their comic collection. I mean, he seems like a legit fan, He was going to play Superman at one point. He did play Ghost Rider twice. Not saying any of those are great, but I do think that Nick Cage is a good actor. He doesn't always get good projects, but I do think he's a good actor. There's a lot of movies you could point to where he gave a fantastic performance. There's tons. Remember the purple and gold costume Doctor Strange had on the TV movie? Of course I do. At one point they were going to do a heist movie about Nick Cage's comic collection being stolen. Okay. Did not know about that. That's funny. Poor Nick Cage. Nobody deserves to have their comics stolen, right? Nobody. Anybody here looking forward to the Doctor Strange movie? That's kind of why I drew this, is I am looking forward to it. I like Sam Raimi. Last thing I think he directed in the theaters had to have been Oz the Great and Powerful, I think. He did do the pilot episode of Ash vs. the Evil Dead, and that was dope. He's done a lot of producing, but I think the last thing he did in the movie theater must have been the Oz movie. So it's been too long since I've seen anything by him. He could be retired, so I figure, he legit loves Doctor Strange, and hopefully that passion translates. Hopefully it gives us a good movie. I'm trying to be positive about this one, but mostly because I like Sam Raimi more than anything else. I'm looking forward to it, okay? I'm very excited for Sam Raimi to be helming a superhero movie again. Absolutely. I already have tickets. Oh, yeah, you're right. Joe Malta points out that Nick Cage also voiced Spider-Man, Noir Spider-Man. So, yeah, he was in the best Spider-Man movie. That's kind of cool. So that's like 3 superhero characters. Well, he didn't actually play Superman, but he did Ghost Rider and a version of Spider-Man. That's good. That is a real fan there. Sometimes I wish I'd gotten into voice acting. I have no idea how to do that, but I have to admit that I do like slipping into impressions. It's probably annoying, but I do like it. I think that would have been a career path I would have been passionate about if I'd somehow slipped into something like that. I don't know how you do that exactly. And I've interviewed voice actors and stuff, but it seems like it's always different paths to get them there. I've got more news. What, did you think I was done? Folks, come on. Give me a little more credit than that. I always give you tons of news. So what else have we got? Did he voice Superman in Teen Titans? Oh, and he was in Kick-Ass. That's right. We already know you do a good Stan Lee impression. I do a Stan Lee impression. As to whether it's good, that's up to the individual. Here's just sort of a weird one that I came across. How many of you out there know who Charlemagne the God is? That's THA. Charlemagne the God. Well, I have no idea how to get into that, Victor. Do an impression of Frasier? Sure. Oh, really, Niles? There. Perfect Frasier. Yeah, so anyway, Charlemagne the God has a popular radio show, I believe, these days. And he's getting into comics. Launching a new comics imprint, a whole comics imprint called Black Privilege Publishing. But that is an imprint through Simon & Schuster. Pretty massive book publisher. So yeah, going to be publishing some comics. Look at... I find that most interesting that, you know, Simon & Schuster is like, yeah, we want to get into the comics publishing world some more. Who knows what form that would take? I don't, but it is interesting. I vaguely know who that is. Some rapper. Yeah, I know who Charlemagne is. He's a rabble-rousing hip-hopper. Yeah, good. You guys are definitely right. But yeah, I guess he wants to get into comics. Speaking of like people that you wouldn't necessarily associate with comics, you don't necessarily know that that's what they're into. I did find this interesting. Last week, I talked about how there was a bunch of news in social media talking about how The Artist isn't getting acknowledged enough in reviews, and that happened because Bryan Hitch was offended that he wasn't mentioned during a good review of Batman's Grave, which is fair. And that review came from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's Substack newsletter, where he apparently gives recommendations, including comics. So imagine my surprise when I saw the latest Reckless book, and one of the pull quotes on the back, the first pull quote, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And probably doesn't help his case anymore. He does mention Brubaker. He does not mention Phillips. But all of a sudden, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has become a comic book reviewer. I did not expect that. I did not realize that he was into comics like this. More power to him. He's got obviously a pretty big platform, being who he is. Charlemagne the God from The Breakfast Club. Yes, Terry, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Charlemagne is changing his name to Charlemagne the New God, is he? I've seen adult ed classes for voice acting. I'm not convinced that that's the way to break in. Maybe it is, but I'm not convinced. Maybe if I lived in LA it would be, but I don't think here it would be. Right, still drawing. Right, still drawing, illustrating. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. Let me actually use my kneaded eraser to clean a little of this up and so that I can sort of see a little bit more what I still need to do. Famous people already have an audience. That's a great point. Yeah, so why wouldn't a book publisher want to use a famous name to help launch their imprint? I get that. That makes sense. Yeah, once I clean up some of the underlying pencil, which maybe you guys can't see as well, but I can see, helps me sort of see what I've done here. And I feel like that those, I like this. Maybe not everybody likes this, but I like what I've decided to do for this technique because I feel like it does make it look a little more ethereal, which I think was what I was personally going for. So, yeah. Surely Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is around 174 years old at this point. Next, it'll be Meadowlark Lemon giving me comic tips. Hey, if Meadowlark Lemon wants to recommend a comic, I will listen. I think Kareem wrote some graphic novels about Moriarty. Really? I gotta look this up. Has Kareem Abdul-Jabbar written some comics? I gotta look this up. Bear with me. I'm using my phone. It's a smart phone. It's more than just a phone. Like, yes, you can call on it, but it's smart. It can figure things out if I type in the things. Graphic novel. I'll put in just to see. Holy crap. He's at least written some books. Yeah, he has written a comic book. Folks, this is news to me. It was called Mycroft Holmes and the Apocalypse Handbook. It was a comic. What year? I'm trying to find out what year it came out and what publisher and such. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, no kidding. Titan Comics came out in 2017. Huh. Following Mycroft Holmes, Sherlock Holmes' brother. He wrote a book about Moriarty, yeah. Smart phone? Great Scott. Yes, your phone has Google. My phone has Google. Not every phone has Google. My phone has Google. Yeah, I'm kind of a big deal. Don't like to brag or toot my own horn too much, but yes, my phone and Google together, they're like this. I hope that the movie is good, though. I hope. We'll see. Very soon, right? Let's hope Meadowlark is still alive. I hope so, yeah. What else do I have for news? I don't know. Let's see. I've got to have at least one more piece, I think. Oh, yeah, I'm down to my last piece of news, folks. So if this is what you've been waiting for, I'm going to have a hard time holding on to you after this, I know. Well, that's okay. Like, this is good timing, because I like to try to go till about 7 my time. IDW announced 9 new comics, and they're all originals. I thought that was interesting. We were all talking a little earlier about how they're about to lose their G.I. Joe and Transformers licenses. IDW has done a lot of licensed comics, but they're trying to do more originals because, they've done stuff that's successful like Lock and Key, and they've signed some good talent or working with some good talent. G. Willow Wilson, Scott Snyder. Those are just a couple of the names. I've heard of Carlos Pacheco. Yeah, I can't really remember off the top of my head like my favorite piece of work by him, but yeah, I've definitely heard of him. So anyway, yeah, IDW getting into doing some more originals, which probably is smart, like because who knows how long you can count on doing like certain licensed things, They may not be there forever. I'll probably have more news on that, like in the coming days and weeks and so on. But for now, don't be surprised if we see a bunch of announcements for some new IDW books soon. I don't know if I missed the answer, but someone asked earlier what your favorite Doctor Strange run is. Oh. It's not that easy to say because I don't think that there's a lot of Doctor Strange runs out there that I love personally. I don't dislike the character at all, but I don't. I guess the two that I'd point to would be Brian K. Vaughan's limited series The Oath and the Steve Englehart run, with artists I want to say Marcos Martin and Gene Colan. I think I'm remembering those right, but I might not be. If I had to choose, those are the guys I'd go with, but I'm not sure that there's ever been what I would consider like the definitive take on Doctor Strange yet. Like, there have been good stories, but I don't know that I necessarily would say that any of them are what I would call the definitive run. Well, okay, let me take that back slightly. The original Ditko issues kind of do establish everything that's important about the character, visually and conceptually. So, yeah, that should be up there too. That should probably be up there. I'm a huge fan of Englehart's Strange run. Ditko's run is great too. Yeah. Good for IDW. I was wondering when they would start doing originals. Good point, Terry. Yeah. Gonna miss the Transformers comics. I've never really read any of the IDW Transformers stuff, have to admit. So, not too clued into what those are like. You know what always intimidated me? It always seemed like there was like a bunch of different continuities. And if I have that wrong, cool, that means it's easier to jump into. But it always seemed like there were a bunch of different series for Transformers. And I was like, well, which one, how do you tell which one is which? So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But yeah. There were a ton of great... yes, there have been a ton of great Doctor Strange artists. I agree. Rick Ray points out some of them. Frank Brunner, very good. Gene Colan, one of my favorites. P. Craig Russell, Tom Sutton. I don't really remember Tom Sutton, actually. And Steve Ditko. Yeah, and I want to say Kevin Nolan has done some. I would also say that, like, some of my favorite Doctor Strange stories, well, it's a one-shot by Roger Stern. I love Torment and... I can't remember the name. Art by... Shit. I'm having trouble remembering it. Torment and Trials? It's the one-shot with Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom teaming up together and going up against Mephisto to save Doctor Doom's mother from hell. It's a pretty cool story, honestly. Really, really good. Trad Moore on Doctor Strange would be so cool. Hey, that's actually a really good call, Christian Cosgrove. Paul Smith did some Doctor Strange. Paul Smith's underrated. Really good. Wow, yeah, Trad Moore has definitely like enough of a sort of a surreal style that could really do justice to some Doctor Strange stories. I like that idea. That's strong. So you guys got to hear my reviews of like what I recommended this week, but was there anything I overlooked that you think was the best of the past week? Always curious to hear other opinions. Remember when Doctor Strange wore a full-headed mask and stopped speaking and was related to Johnny Blaze or something? I don't remember him being related to Johnny Blaze. I do remember the very brief time where they put him in a mask to try to make him more of a traditional-looking superhero. Don't think it looked quite right. It was kind of weird take on Doctor Strange, but I do remember that era. I absolutely remember that. That's sort of what I mean, though. Like, Doctor Strange is, to me, almost like Moon Knight. Like, has had lots of different takes, never quite hit on a perfect version. But because he hasn't, it just has allowed new teams to take more chances. Because, like, nobody at Marvel is like, well, these are the core elements that you have to have in Doctor Strange. And I think that, like, honestly, sometimes when something gets adapted like that into another medium, sometimes that helps solidify some of what works. For instance, I think Blade became better when there were the movies. Like that sort of defined Blade a little bit better than he'd been defined before. And Superman is one I always point to, that like, the early version in the comics went through a lot in terms of getting a supporting cast and defined powers from things like the original radio serial and even the first live action TV show. But in the original comic strips in the newspapers, like a lot of the elements of what we consider Superman came from other sources like that, not from the original comics. And it helped sort of define them. What's the point of a mask if he doesn't have a secret identity? I forget why. It had something to do literally with his powers, but it was a bullshit reason. Like, the real reason was they just wanted to come up with a new visual look for him. Oh, here's some recommendations. Reign Number 4 by Joe Hill, Boer, and Thorogood was good. Norse Mythology 3 also continues to be a great series. The new Tynan book, Nightmare Country, was enjoyable too. Nightmare Country. Okay, I'll try to keep that one in the back of my noggin. Nightmare Country. Nightmare Country. Right. I don't know why I'm remembering this now, but all of a sudden I'm just sort of remembering that I think I had a dream that I went to, like, Disney. I guess I don't have anything else to say. No, I thought for a minute I was remembering my dream a little better, but no, that's all I had. Well, that was quite the anecdote. Nailed it. Great. Glad I'm here as your host. I think I dreamed something. Yeah, maybe I did. The end. What a story. It was like there's a piece of it that I'm almost remembering, like a story about it, but it can't quite come to me. And I feel like the more I try to think about it, the less it's in my head, actually. Oh well. Oh, you know what? I think that the new season of Better Call Saul may have started like today or yesterday. Am I right about that? It's the final season. That's a damn good show. It's not really related to comics, I guess. Sorry, but yeah, it's good storytelling if you're curious. I'm getting hungry. I'm going to have to wrap this up in a little bit. Like I suspected, I'm not going to be able to do the whole thing. Darn. Wanted to do as much as I could, but this is a pretty ambitious layout that I had. Just so many extra arms. Tonight? Oh, okay. Thanks, Marvin Nation. All this talk about Doctor Strange sounds bonkers. I'm really out of the loop, but of course Doctor Strange stories are pretty out there most of the time. They really are, Ashley. I did one episode about like one of the stories I consider the most bonkers, which is like Doctor Strange and his girlfriend Clea were going through time, learning about American history and stuff. They meet one of the founding fathers, Ben Franklin. Doctor Strange has to go off on this mission and fight like an evil sorcerer and stuff. And Ben Franklin takes the opportunity to seduce Clea and sleeps with her. So I guess you could say that Doctor Strange got cucked by one of the founding fathers. Sorry, it happened. I'm not making it up. That 30-year-old gum that you ate must have mind-wiped your dream from your memory. Yeah, it wiped out a lot of stuff from my mind. Work on it again next week. It's an interesting idea. Would I work on this drawing more next week? I've only done that once. Like, I was drawing just like sort of a city, and I did pick it back up the next week, but not everybody tunes in every week, so sometimes like they're like, huh? Like, what is this? I don't know. Maybe. I guess I don't know what else I'd be drawing next week, so it's possible I could finish this. But you see, like, I'm really just doing this for practice. There's no intention to come up with a completed piece of artwork. It's maybe we can learn a little bit. Like, I'm fine with if anybody, like, is like, yeah, this is terrible, like, because of blah, 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 fine, I'll listen. It's just me trying to practice, learn some things, and hopefully by drawing regularly, maybe I can get better. I just enjoy being connected to the medium in that way, just trying to learn these things. So we got like a little, like about a quarter of a Doctor Strange here. Having a superhero sleep with a historical figure definitely sounds like a fetish. Yeah, maybe it does. Who would have thought Ben Franklin was a pimp daddy? Yeah, who would have thought? Well, I figure you help found a country that earns you a little bit of a reputation, right? Do all right in your time. Like, yeah, it's a little chubby, but you know what? He did help found a country. I don't know if you heard that. It sounds like my wife is popping packing material upstairs. Wah wah wee wah. Clea is a sorceress. Yes. Yes, she is. Does Clea have superpowers? Ah, yes. She is a sorceress from the Dark Dimension. Wait, is her father Dormammu or somebody else? Like Satanish? I can't quite remember, but her father is a supervillain. But for some reason, like, even though, like, I grew up and that was, like, his main squeeze, but, they haven't really used her in that role in a long time, like, in the comics. I I always thought that was like his main love, but at some point they backed off of that for some reason. I don't know why. That I couldn't tell you. I don't have all the answers. Ben Franklin said he was a god or master of sex in Scud the Disposable Assassin. That's awesome. I do remember that him being a bad guy in Scud. Scud was so cool. I wish Rob Schraub would do another comic book, at least write one. He's so creative. Put him in charge of the DC universe for movies. Schraub is the best. Or, you know who would be good to put in charge of the DC movie universe? That guy from that rap band in the 90s, Digital Underground, the one with the big nose that sang Humpty Hump. I think that he would probably be a good guy to put in charge of the DC cinematic universe. Borat is super funny. Kazakhstan says that Borat did for their tourism what Midnight Express did for Turkey. One of my coworkers is American, but grew up for like the first 8 to 10 years of his life in Kazakhstan. So it is interesting to learn what Kazakhstan is really like. Not like what they portray in Borat. Like, that's just very weird and not really based on anything, actually. But it doesn't matter, because that's not the point. The point is to play off of people's assumption that a foreigner is somehow dumb or ill-informed or something. So, but yeah, I've gotten some interesting stories out of what it was like to grow up as a kid in Kazakhstan. First of all, guess what the most popular meat is in Kazakhstan? That guy passed away last year. Shock G? Shock G passed away? Oops. That's too bad. Maybe I should be the new Shock G.
I'm the one to say just grab 'em in the biscuits.
Is Christine Palmer Doctor Strange's love interest in the comics? Not really. Not in a main way. Not to the degree Clea has been. But I think that they've also sort of moved on. Like, the important thing for that movie was that, like, you know, he had a life, he had a potential, like, love and everything, but his old life is gone now. That's the important element of Doctor Strange, is that he had to sort of voluntarily give up his old life, and that was kind of, that's sort of nebulous thing in a movie to like say like, oh, I'm just not a doctor anymore. That's kind of vague. So I think, like, you know, attaching that to a love interest helped ground that idea a little bit more. Is their most popular meat goat? Nope, it is not. So since nobody else guessed, horse. Horse is actually the most popular meat in Kazakhstan, or at least it was when my my coworker was growing up there. Horse. Interesting, right? In other Magic Man news, how do you feel about Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate? Well, Pierce Brosnan's a great actor. Well, maybe great is overstating it. He's very, very good. I think that he should help that movie a lot. All sorts of talks. Cool questions, folks. Thank you. The next Comic Tropes episode will be an interview. Those don't always get as many views, but they always seem to get like some of the most engaged comments from viewers. And what can I say? I like doing the interviews. I like doing them a lot. I'd do them more often if it was more profitable. But I like doing them, so I'm always going to sort of have some interviews on comic tropes, and that's what I'm going to be doing next week. But I think it should be a good one. I think you'll like it. And I've got a lot of artists that I really want to cover. I feel like I'd been covering writers quite a bit, or comic book history quite a bit. I'm going to try to double down on analyzing some art techniques in some of the upcoming episodes of Comic Tropes. I hope people are into it. It requires a lot more thought for me to analyze art as compared to analyzing story structure. I think I'm a better writer than I am a artist. Well, I mean, you can just like literally look at this and go like, yeah, that's probably a safe bet, Chris. Anyway, just giving you a small hint at like what's to come. I think people will like it though. I think it'll be fun. The Dothraki have two things in abundance. Are you interviewing me? No. As far as I know, sister, you have not done anything comic book related. That would be quite the surprise for you to like be like, guess what, brother? I secretly write comics and I just forgot to tell you. You're out there helping people stay healthy, giving them important medical info. You're doing something a lot more important than me. I don't shut up about comics and sell people cars. That's what a life. Yeah, I wish I was doing something more important for the world sometimes. Oh well. She does watch a comic stream every week. That's true. I'm trust me, I'm a lucky brother. I've got a fantastic sister. I'll put her up against any other sister out there. Come on. Let me put my sister up against you. Gene, guess what? You're gonna have to be in a fight this week. That got me thinking. I don't know how many of you out there follow this, but there is going to be another YouTuber boxing match coming up in a while. I want to say it's called Creator Clash. It's the one that iDubbbz and his wife Anissa are putting on. And I have to admit that the card looks pretty interesting. I saw some names in there that I didn't expect to see, like Nathan Barnett and who else? The Odd Ones Out. I didn't expect to see those people like boxing. And it got me thinking, like, I was going to say, like, I don't have enough of a following, but I think I actually do have more followers than a couple of the people that are in the boxing matches for some reason. But I would do that. I would train my ass off if a cool opportunity to box another YouTuber came up that I wanted to fight. And I don't know. I would do that. I have a little bit of boxing training, very little. I have a fair amount of martial arts training. I have worked out really hard in the past, and I'd be willing to like put in the effort for like a specific reason. I don't know. It just it totally interests me. Maybe that's just me like grasping at like, you know, like whatever amount of youth I have left, but I sincerely would like be so into like boxing. Like even one match if it had to be exhibition. But I would put on like 10-pound gloves, no headgear for the right match. Probably wouldn't let me, but I would do it. I would totally do it. Didn't the Odd Ones Out challenge a YouTuber to chess boxing? I don't know about that. I'd like to suggest an episode on the brief career of the very talented and super nice artist Seth Fisher. That's a decent idea, Jamilin. It is sad that Seth Fisher passed away so young. Super talented. Sounds like everybody liked him. I'll keep it in mind. I don't know off the top of my head what I'd have to say, but I would keep that in mind. But anyway, Keith Apicary is boxing. He goes by Dad. That's his channel now, Dad. I said Nathan Barnett. That's his real name. Keith Apicary is like just one of his characters. His current character is Dad. But yeah, I feel like that. I want to see that. I want to see iDubbbz fight Dr. Mike. I want to see AB from the H3 podcast. So I'm probably going to buy that pay-per-view. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought it, but I think I will buy that pay-per-view. So you should all come on over to my place the night of that, and we'll watch a YouTuber. I think it's called Creator Clash, if I'm remembering right. I also just recently found out that iDubbbz, I guess, lives local. Like, I don't know exactly where, but I mean, he lives in Seattle, like me, and I didn't know that. Yeah, I know. You probably thought that all the YouTubers, like myself, like hang out together, but no, that's not the truth. Anyway, probably not going to happen, but don't ever be surprised if you did see me do a boxing pay-per-view. As long as I could get help getting an actual trainer. I'm not going to go into it without a coach, but I would just do that. I would totally do that. I do like fighting, or at least sparring. Maybe fighting is overstating how much I like it, but I like it. And I like training for a purpose, as compared to just going to the gym. Why do YouTubers keep boxing? Because there's money in it. Because everybody likes to see a fight, and we already know the personalities of some of these people, so it's interesting seeing them fight, because we kind of already know them a little bit. If don't be surprised, to see them doing porn. I mean, although in a way, isn't that OnlyFans for some influencers? People want to see people fight. People want to see people have sex, and so that just, I'm not going to do porn. You don't have to worry about that. But I would consider doing a boxing match. I really would. Didn't Uwe Boll challenge his critics to fights? Yeah, he did. He only, I think he only did one, and he's in shape. He knew what he was doing. He beat up a critic. Well, that doesn't make your movies good. But, Uwe Boll did do that. What a weirdo. What a weirdo. iDubbbz's wife did OnlyFans. I think I don't know. Maybe she still does, but whatever. They were comfortable with it. It wasn't like it was a surprise or anything. I don't really judge people for things like that. I really don't. I have to admit, I don't 100% understand how OnlyFans works, because I've never gone onto that site. So I think that it's like a subscription model. I think you have to pay, just like I could have YouTube members, for instance. I think people subscribe. I don't know. I could be getting it 100% wrong, so I better shut up. Chris versus Legal Eagle. There's got to be somebody in the comics world that like people don't like, right? I'll be the baby face. You just got to find me the heel. Got to find me somebody in the comics world that I can fight. Whoa, hold on. I think I see a super chat. Marvin Nation, that's so nice of you. Let me know. I'll bring pizza to the fight pay-per-view. Yeah. Remember eating food with mukbangs? I'm pretty sure mukbangs are still really popular on YouTube. Not my thing, I have to admit. Not my thing. I do not like seeing other people eat, really. Or at least not talk while they're eating. Like that just, ugh. Fionnan's Rainbow? I don't know what that means. After last week's video, I checked out the Blood Rubies D Dragon Ball Z, and it was brilliant. I didn't know Dragon Ball was so gory and intense. Good recommendation. Interesting. Yeah, everybody was telling me to read Dragon Ball last week because I said I don't know anything about it. Well, I can't go that far. I know that Akira Toriyama created it. I know it's popular. I know it was turned into an animated series, but that's about it. Like, I've never watched it. I've never read it. I don't even like eating with other people. I'm not going to fight Tom Scioli. No, I couldn't. He seems like a nice gentleman. I don't think he wants to box anyway. And you don't have to hate the person you're fighting, of course. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, no, I don't want to fight Tom. He seems like a nice boy. Josh Wheaton. Who's that? Who's that? Did you read the Tom King story where Batman was challenged to a fight by the heavyweight champion and he didn't do it until the guy was caught beating his wife? I don't think so. Was that part of the main Batman run? Because I thought I read the whole Batman run, but I don't remember that. Josh Whedon. Josh Whedon. Are you trying to say Joss Whedon? Are you saying Joss Whedon? That's my best guess. But, no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm younger than him. That doesn't seem fair. But thank you for trying to think up opponents for me, folks. Don't worry. One way or the other, I'll get some brain damage. One way or the other. If I can't get in a boxing match, I'll just start drinking again. Nostalgia critics should box Linkara. Oh my god, I would pay to see that. I would pay to see those guys fight. That's what I imagine their technique being. Oh man, that would be fun. I'll fight Whedon. Jim Shooter, he's old, but he has the 38-foot reach. Yeah. Look, my opinions on Jim Shooter are actually, I would say, fairly complex. I do not dislike the man per se. I dislike some of what he's done, but I also respect a lot of what he's done. I think he's been treated badly, actually, by the industry. I'm coming in on, let's see, Have you read Omega Men, or do you have a good story featuring Kyle Rayner? I don't. I think I'm realizing that I'm not going to be able to finish too much more of this, so yeah, I'm gonna call it in just a sec. I'm gonna look up one thing here, and then I'm just gonna finish his amulet and these forearms, the main arms, and then I'm gonna call it. So a little while more, but not much. Let's see. Doctor Strange medallion. I just need to double check what it looks like. Yeah. Chris, I will pay you $1 to slap the crap out of Will Smith. Well, if I took that dollar and did that, I would imagine I would accrue quite a bit more in both medical bills and lawsuit fees. So I don't think that would be a very good deal for me to take. But I appreciate the offer. We can start there with the bar for what I'd be willing to accept for payment. But just for the record, yeah, I'm not quite that cheap. I need a little bit more incentive than that. But I appreciate the opening bid there. Also, I'm pretty sure that boxing matches don't involve slapping or an uninformed opponent. Pretty sure that I need consent. What about Dave Sim? Dave Sim's a lot older. I don't think I should be fighting him. What do you think of the YouTube channel Comic Book University? I'll be honest, Miguel, I've never heard of that one. That one I have not heard of. I've heard of a lot of comic book channels. I haven't checked them all out. That one I haven't heard of. Sorry. Is it I'm assuming that's because it must be on the newer side? That's just a guess. What else is being asked? I obviously am getting quiet towards the end. You recommend it. What is their sort of take on things, or his or hers? What is that channel about? Give me an idea here of what we're talking about. Appreciate recommendations. Just not quite clear in what we're talking about there. What's that channel you promoted recently on your Twitter? Oh, yeah, yesterday. Oh, what is the name of that channel? There's a YouTube channel I came across like about a week ago, I watched an episode that they did on Deathmate. That was like this crossover between Valiant and Image. It was pretty interesting. It was pretty well researched and stuff. So then they announced that they were doing one about this guy called Rob Granito, who was this guy that used to go to conventions and pass off other people's work as his own. What was that channel called? I'm sorry. I'm blanking a little bit. It was either called Jerk Comic or Uncle Jerk. It was something with the word jerk in it, and it was a YouTube channel about comics. And so I've watched two of their episodes, and they were good. Joe Dent says Uncle Jerk. That sounds right. Oh, but Big Gay Dave says Jerk Comics. So I'm not sure which of the two it is, but it's something close to that. It's I only, like I said, have seen those two episodes. Very lengthy, sort of in-depth take on things. A lot of like the host's commentary interspersed throughout, as well as given like sort of like it's kind of more than a recap. Like, you know, like I will sometimes recap certain pieces of the news, and I might use like a quote from an interview, and that channel seems to like read almost the whole interview type thing. I'm not sure if that's the big differentiator or if it's just in the episodes that I saw, though, I have to admit. But it seemed good. You know, there's other comic book YouTubers out there that I definitely like respect and wish I could watch more of. I've always made really tried to limit how much I watch other comic book YouTube, just so that I don't want to accidentally like sort of take on somebody else's opinion. I want to make sure that there's like, you know, a good separation there. I talked to a guy who tried to pass others' work as his own, but didn't know until later. Almost bought a print from him, too. Oof. James Hutchins, thank you for the super chat. That's super kind of you. Keep being awesome AF, Chris. You're so cool, and you've introduced me to so many new comics. Aw, that's really, really nice. Jameel Frost says, just joined late. What did I miss? Almost everything, I'm afraid. Reviewed the comics that I read this week. Just to recap, like the two that got my top recommendations were the latest Reckless book by Brubaker and Phillips called The Ghost in You, and Asadora Volume 5 by Naoki Urasawa. Talked about a bunch of the news of the week, including some shakeups at Warner Brothers, which includes DC Comics. And now I'm just sort of about to wind down the episode. Just sort of doing a little bit of doodling, but about to wrap it up. But this will get archived. You can always watch it later. Always appreciate everybody being here. Yeah, I think that's about going to do it for today. You need to do more crossovers with other comic YouTubers. Just like about 2 weeks ago, I did one with Godzilla Mendoza. So, check out his episode on the comparison of the movie The Batman with the comics. I did a lot on that one. And other than that, like, I guess I haven't done a whole lot. But the ones I recommend out there, I support Cartoonist Kayfabe and Matt Draper and Godzilla Mendoza. Those three guys I think I really, really respect, and they always have nice things to say about me. But I think I've been promoting all of them since I could. Trying to think of like other people that are really good. Owen Likes Comics is a really nice guy. I always forget a couple, like, so this is why, like, I don't like listing this stuff. Yeah, that's about all I can think of off the top of my head. Any opinions on the new Thor Love and Thunder trailer? Just that I think it looks like a lot of fun. It's just a hint of things to come, and I think that it will be taking a lot from the Jason Aaron run, because I literally saw at least one shot, maybe more, that were taken straight from the comics themselves, and that was kind of cool to see. Oh, Daniel, thank you so much for the super chat. Love the streams and the main show. Keep it up. Ah, thank you. What are you going to cook me for dinner? What do you want? What do you want, love? I owe my wife a dinner. There's no, none of this, no more time for doodling around. I've got a family to feed. I've got a cat and a wife, and if I don't feed them, they just die. I gotta feed them. You don't want them to die, do you, folks? I think I've got some pretty caring, compassionate viewers out there. Just going to put in a couple little belt straps. I'd love to do more detail, but, you know, there's only so much time in the day, right? There's only so much time in the day. Make nachos in a Dorito bag. Yeah, I don't think so. Been trying and failing to send a super chat for a few minutes. Kind of odd. Can't see why that wouldn't work, Chris. Appreciate the thought, the sentiment. I make a mean grilled cheese. Ooh, should I make my wife a grilled cheese? Thor looking adoringly at Star-Lord was pretty hysterical. Should be good. I hope. I've not seen a movie by all of a sudden I'm terrible at names if you guys haven't figured that out yet. Who's the Taika Waititi. I've seen all of his movies that he's directed, and I've liked all of them more or less. Some way better than others. You know, What We Do in the Dark is my favorite, but yeah. Lobster thermidor, truffle pilaf with seasonal microgreens, a raspberry coulis, and arugula tempura with a goat cheese reduction. Give me a challenge. Jeez. Thanks, James. Just because Chris seems like a cool dude. Chrissy has good taste. She does have good taste. Chris, don't worry about it. I appreciate the thought. Thank you, James. Super generous of you. Means a lot. Does. It all helps. It really does. Super Chat has been acting up for me, too. Oh, maybe it's a YouTube thing then. Like, it's probably bigger than just me. My channel shouldn't have any issues, but it's just not big enough, you know? Alright, so that's what I came up with. You kind of get the idea, like, this would have just been mirrored over here. You saw how long that took, and there's a lot more detail to throw in here, and then getting all the shading right, there needs to be a lot more shading, but you get the idea. Thank you so much for joining me. This was fun for me. I had a great time. And what else do I have to say? Just that there's another episode of Comic Tropes that will definitely be out this Sunday. And I'm working on several others regarding some artists that I have not covered yet. And I've definitely been giving some thought to going back and covering some artists that I've already covered. And just feel that I could do a lot better now than I could early on in my show. So we'll see. Does YouTube get bigger than you, Chris? No. This is the full show. What are your thoughts on Moon Knight so far? Like the first episode a lot. The next couple, I wish it had a little more action, I have to admit. I like the character work. Look, they're lucky to have both Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac. Both of them are captivating when they're on the screen. I would like to see a little bit more of Moon Knight being Moon Knight, but I'm willing to see where it goes. So I'd say it slowed down a little, but I did like the start, and I like the visuals quite a bit. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Will you draw a butt again next week? I like those. Well, then, Carrie, what I'll do is I'll just pull out the one that I did last week, and because I think that looked better. Look at that. That's ninja butt. That's not just butt. That's ninja butt. There's Storm Shadow. All right. Thank you, everybody. It's been a great stream. Thank you so much. Keep reading comics.